get to my office unless you pass. First of all, you pass the United States Marine. You've gotten past a gate guard with an automatic weapon. There's more than several of them. That early on, you got into somewhere that you know, certainly harder than getting into the E-ring of the Pentagon. But if you, imagine walking into your office someday at Postal Security, one of the safest, well, one of the most restricted and classified areas on Earth, and you find one of the leaders of the Colombian drug cartel sitting across from your desk, smoking a cigar, Cuban cigar, thank you, and you wonder, how do you get in the building? And the next question you have is, and he's telling me, he's got this list of things that he wants me to do, and you couldn't even get into that building with a note from a White House special assistant. You would have had to have been allowed in by simply the president. Postal security is pretty important. I mean, stamps are valuable, you know. So I was like an important guy here long ago, and I remember this flashing through my head, Clay, that, oh my heavens, all this time, all this stuff I'm doing, I've been working for the drug cartel. I had no idea. I thought I was making the United States safe for mail, you know, or whatever.
You must not have read Smedley Butler, who said war's a racket, and he made Al Capone look like a amateur.
Well, that's the issue we're dealing with. Is that, and from that day on, I remember everything that was being done at the Office of Stamp Cancellation in the Post Office was involved in areas of, well, what if we brought cocaine in by the plane load? Where would we land? How do we recruit pilots? If we have to drop bales out, how do we secure them? Because apparently they had experiments where we were dropping bales off an island that's a naval gunnery range, and apparently if you shove cocaine off the back of a transport plane, I don't think they were using C-130s then. This is quite a while ago, but they were early C-130s if they were. They would hit the ground and they would go off like we used to call it Willie Peter, white phosphorus. Nothing sadder than seeing 500 pounds of cocaine go up in a huge puff of white smoke after hitting a big rock. And all you've got is ghosts on this island, of course, that are breathing this stuff for the next 2 weeks, running helplessly in circles. But we have been, our government has initially been taken over by the drug business, and the drug business is no longer just drugs. The actual pharmaceutical business is worse than the narcotics business. The war business is worse. And then, of course, all of it exists. We have 15 million Americans, Clay. I need to tell you this. You know this very well. We have 15 million Americans who are either in prison, who are in some sort of restrictive environment tied to mental health care or drug rehabilitation, or on parole and probation. 15 million, and it's as many as the rest of the world combined. More Americans are locked up, and it isn't all. And of course, this is what Romney would love telling you, that they're part of the 47% that we all sit in our homes and wait for African Americans to kick down the door and shoot us or whatever. It's not the issue. What we worry about is the Department of Homeland Security. And one of the guys who will be traveling with me ran FBI COINTELPRO. He's a longtime good friend of mine. He's only slowly coming to reality here, where I have to sit, and it's, he said, we all have friends that don't believe what we believe politically. But I have to sit down and tell him that, you used to think you were fighting communism. You have been working, the FBI, you have been working for drug dealers, you have been working for international communism, you've been working for what was the real Communist Party all of your life. They've run the FBI all of this time. And organizations, if you get FBI agents out here, and we have tens of thousands of them, there are many wonderful people in the FBI. The problem we have increasingly is it's coming through the United States in waves now, where law enforcement organizations, federal, state, local, even school boards are being, they're even rigging the elections of school boards so they can loot the children of milk money, so they can sell drugs on the playground. We are being penetrated at every level. Every state government is being penetrated. Every police department, 70%, this is an educated estimate, 70% of the police departments in the United States now have a high degree of corruption. And many of the people listening out here are police officers, and I can tell you what they're doing. Their heads are going up and down. I can tell you there's what's not worth it. You may get an extra $200, $500, $800 a week, and you can buy a boat. You can have a Lincoln out there instead of a Honda. And both are made in the U.S. anyway. But it's not worth a cent of it, because no one wants to work for a corrupt police department. It is dangerous. The people around you can't be trusted. You feel sick going to work every day. And police officers, well, frankly, if you stand up and talk, if you stand up at all, you and your family will be killed. If you want to know the most terrorized job in the United States, is trying to be an honest cop. And one of them we'll talk about, an honest cop, was Cochise County Sheriff Larry Deaver.
I met Larry. I got his picture up, and I put on an event. I had him write up the event up on my website, and they killed him.
Well, I have sitting on the desktop of my computer, since we have, this is where the Army Surveillance Command is, and Deaver was a close friend of many of my friends, and we're supporting Rod Rothrock for his replacement instead of the Cartel choice. But I have the photos from his, and it's a crime scene, and we will not publish those out of respect to the family. They're very unpleasant. But I have the police photos. The autopsy results will be coming in today. The first thing that would be very easy to show is that he was wearing a. And police don't usually do this, by the way. If you're working in a city, police don't wear a seatbelt, because there's a need. If you get the window blown out of your car with a shotgun, you hit the brakes, you open the door, and you roll out with a weapon as soon as you can. That's how things were long ago, and they're still that way. So police most of the time will not wear a seatbelt. Deaver not only had a seatbelt on, but you can see the big marks, the scars from the seatbelt and the crash. That's easy to see. The idea that his blood alcohol is, and this is from an email from the undersheriff, they show a 2.91. The only way someone can function driving a car like that, although people have been arrested quadruple drunk before, I will tell you, Larry Deaver was not a heavy drinker. He was a mild social drinker. He was heading to a hunting trip with his son, and the last thing someone like Larry Deaver, and this is one of the best sheriffs in the United States, would do was to go to a hunting trip with his kid, driving there, and we're talking after it would have required while he was in the car, he would have had to have finished a half gallon of 100 proof vodka, or gin, more likely vodka, a half gallon in 5 minutes. There's an assassination technique called Boston Break. It's taught that at the Postal Cancellation Training School. It teaches how to do this because it's apparently the U.S. has countries that don't deliver our mail the way we'd like, you know. Some of that mail may or may not have heroin or cocaine in it by the time. But if you refuse to do that, the U.S. will send people to have your stamps canceled. And I recognize the Beaver crime scene very easily as a carefully constructed assassination.
What about his son? Where was his son? Or why wasn't his son with him if he was going on a hunting trip? Gordon? Did we lose that? Getting into sensitive areas here, are we? Homeland Security ain't happy.
You know, I'm wondering here.
Did you catch that? We got disconnected there, Gordon, for a second here.
Yeah.
But what about his son? Where was his son?
His son was ahead. We're not sure how many miles, but his son had been there in advance, waiting for him to show up for a hunting trip. And of course, you name the father who shows up for a hunting trip with his son, falling down drunk with his his guns in his truck. Now it certainly happened, but not Larry Beaver. It's not a viable cover story. You know, it's one thing stumbling out of a bar. It's another thing in the middle of the afternoon driving out to a hunting trip with your own family. And not only do you go off the road in a vehicle that's accelerated for some reason up to 62 miles an hour, but it's a little hard to, well, none of this story is believable. And it's not the only death. Arizona right now is the most corrupt state we're dealing with. We had evidence of a number of serious crimes, attempted to take those to the Attorney General's office. Now, the Attorney General, of course, was charged with campaign finance violation. Campaign finance violation is a euphemism for taking drug money. This presidential election right now has cost $2 billion. The other elections in the U.S. cost $6 billion. The U.S. doesn't have $6 billion to donate, but there is drug money out there that pours into the U.S. through Citizens United. We're talking about the government at some point. Now, I'm not somebody that's free because I hold active employment in areas where I have to work with and deal with the U.S. government and law enforcement. But I can't talk about people being armed and doing what is needed to regain American freedom. One of the problems, of course, is those people that would fight for the U.S. have been so misinformed that they don't know who the enemy is. It's
exactly. You know, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about tonight, because I've been painted as the bad guy for probably 45 years. And
you're the only person, pretty much the only person I talk to that has a clear view of how a lot of this has worked. But you spent decades researching this. It took years for me to catch on, and we have little spy convention things where we all sit down together, and I've had people have to sit me down and explain to me and this has happened over a long period of my life, that if everything I have believed, and it's something that has to happen to every American. That, I'm the person that went down in 1968 and joined the Marine Corps. I grew up on John Wayne movies. I grew up toys in the 1950s. I grew up, believing that we were going to have a better world. Well, since 1972, the world for Americans has become darker and darker. I'm talking to a group of people out there. Tell me how much money you've got in your checking account. Tell me how secure your job is. Now, we're still out there buying $35,000 and $40,000 pickup trucks, and thank goodness we're doing it, because it's the only way up here in Detroit and Toledo and whatever we're staying alive that you're doing that. I'm glad that you're putting yourselves in debt to keep us working and eating up here. Although, I make my living off war. Thank you very much. What I should be doing is keep up the terrorism. That's what I should say. And to do that, of course, were I honest, it isn't a good idea for me to be honest, because of, I do not run the company I work for. So I'm not going to say that if I'm going to tell people to keep up terrorism, I need to talk to national security agencies who actually commit terrorist acts, and that there are certainly such things as rioters, there are certainly such things as dissidents, there are even religious extremists, and they're responsible for, I estimate, between 2 and 3% of the world's terrorism, and they're a big concern. But we'll never be able to discuss the fact that 97% of the world's terrorism is either committed by or directly orchestrated by governments, almost all of whom claim to be friendly to the United States. One in particular is, we now look at the U.S. ambassador to Libya, Chris Stevens. Now, Webster Tarpley and I had a melee going on a press TV show the other day, and the video. Well, finding the video. Good luck with finding a video from Press TV. I recommend anybody watch that, where we went head to head, agreeing on absolutely nothing, because we work for very different people. We both work for government. I may work for a government, but at a certain point, I don't let myself be pushed around. I just don't care. I can afford it. They can't. I've got enough money, enough places that, as long as I can get to an airport without being shot, I can disappear if I have to. I never go anywhere without a passport in my pocket, and I have a government that's offered me safe haven for life, a diplomatic passport, and I sit on the board of one of the largest private banks in the world. I have a 5,000 square foot house sitting up in the Alps right now. I can live there the rest of my life, and do so, and no one will get near me. I stay in the United States because this is my country, and I'm not like so many other Americans, and probably you're one of them. Every attempt has been made for how many years to throw you out of the United States, Clay?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't have a passport. I won't go out of this country because I don't think they would let me back in.
It's really funny. One of the things I do is I inside my passport, I always I've got my military ID stuck inside my passport. The majority of people that work for immigration, I don't mind being searched or looked at or whatever. And in other countries, of course, I carry I carry in my wallet a stack of get-out-of-jail-free cards. In Britain, I carry one from the head of one of the security services with their mobile number on the back. And if I have a problem, then I'm going in and out, because I cross LA all the time. And I had to, on one occasion, I just brought the card over, and they called the supervisor. It was funny being saluted. It was humorous. There are an awful lot of good people in this world. The majority of people in this world. If you go to Israel, you will find mostly good people. You'll find a government where people are misinformed. They're being told that everyone's trying to kill them. That these poor starving children in Gaza are rocketing them. Everyone's lied to. Everything is being done to put us all on each other's throats. We are all being told that we're trying to kill each other. If you put us all together. You know, I remember I was sitting up at a little town north of Abbottabad about a year and a half ago in Pakistan. I was there with author Jeff Gates, and I was with Raja Mutaba, our editor in Pakistan, who's one of the nicest people in the world. And we're walking down the street, and we're taking a day off. I'm on a lecture tour there. Universities, we're meeting with the military. I'm meeting with General Thomas Gull, former head of the ISI, who's one of our editors. He was a funny guy. He's as Thomas Gull could just stand up anywhere in the world. and the U.S. crisis, and he's about 5 feet tall, by the way. But he is absolutely hilarious. But we're walking down a street with Raja, and I enter a store that's probably 6 by 7 feet. The guy in there had been in Raja's unit in the 1967 war with India. Raja was a commander of a tank company. And this is an older gentleman, and he's on a folding chair. And I'm in this little tiny store in the middle of nowhere in Pakistan, and the change in my pocket would have bought everything in the store. And we're invited in. There's just enough room for us to stand there, and he makes us tea. And we stayed for about 40 minutes and talked. And everyone we met, everywhere we went, whether they were the Pashtuns of the South or Imran Khan, who will be the next Prime Minister of Pakistan, who we spent considerable time with, who, this is a classic. Looked up Imran Khan. I have a YouTube channel. I have a film about Imran Khan that who he is. This will be Pakistan's next prime minister. He was he's the equivalent of us electing Michael Jordan. But watch the video, see who he is, listen to who he is, and just tell me this, or tell Clay this when you have the chance, whether or not you would elect Imran Khan, who will be the next prime minister of Pakistan, whether you would rather not have him as president of the United States. Because it was very clear to any American that he's the person we would want running our country instead of either candidate here. We'd elect him in a second. And of course, it's a war for him to get elected where he is, because he had been in mass rallies and decided that a university. I remember sitting with him. One of his people sitting next to me had been shot 3 times. Was considering he was wearing he was bleeding on the couch, but he was going to wait for election results before we went to the hospital. Things get a little tough over there, but Jeff Gates and I, when we left, it was early in the morning, we looked at each other and said, we've met the equivalent of what would have been Jack Kennedy. And violent politics, what do we think this country is? They don't shoot as many presidential candidates as they used to, or presidents as they used to. Not recently. It's simply because, well, in this case, I guarantee you that nobody is going to shoot Romney. Nobody shoots Satan. Nobody would shoot at George W. Bush. If there's not the remote possibility, there is no one in the U.S. There is no recognition here anymore. This is and we are subjected to the most sophisticated system of psychological warfare in the U.S. There is no more victimized people than the people of the U.S., Britain, Israel, Germany, and France. I would add Italy to that to some extent, that live on a constant diet of psychological warfare, of poisoning and lies.
That's right. And we're out of time, and I just lost that call because they didn't want you to hear that last part here.
Recording has been completed.
All right. We're out of time, folks. My guest was Gordon Duff, and I appreciate you listening here. Talk shoes, guard. All right. We'll let that go. All right, what do we got here? What have we got here? All right. Folks, one more time here. We will be talking at Brave New Books. That's down in the basement on Guadalupe Street and MLK. Hope you can make it there. Come up and say hello. And yeah, we'll be there. Two on Earth will be there. And a lot of other people will be there. Truth Seekers is meeting there tonight. And next Friday, we'll be back over at Harold's Cafe. All of that information is on freeamerican.com. This show is on freeamerican.com. Now you've got a Marine Colonel. This has been Colonel's Week. You've got a Marine Colonel that is telling you that I am the expert that you need. You need this. Now, the book's Mystery Babylon. The fiction's more believable than Mystery Babylon. The Trevor Cameron Terrorist Hunter is what you need. And thank you for listening. FreeAmerican.com. If you want to send a donation, do that as clay at freeamerican.com through PayPal. Clay at freeamerican.com. It's all up there. You can link right to PayPal from my site. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you. God bless. Have a great weekend. See you tonight.